Hello, and welcome to the Basic to Bold podcast. I'm your host, Jen Bjornson. Have you ever noticed that you might be in a situation or talking with a very specific person and your chest tightens and your stomach starts to kind of tighten up, and maybe your throat even feels like it's kind of tightening up, and maybe you even have a physical reaction of like you start to sweat or get this fear, this anxiety? There are people and situations that you really allow other people's opinions, their thought processes, their wants, their likes, their dislikes to affect the way that you speak, the way that you act, the way that you live your life. And what I want to talk about today is giving up other people's opinions so that you can live a life that you're excited about, that you are engaged with, and not living for what other people think, what other people agree with or don't agree with. This happened a lot in my life. And what was really interesting is I didn't even know I was doing it half the time. Half the time I was completely unaware. I was not even thinking about it. I just knew certain situations made me upset, certain situations made me anxious, or I just didn't like. Maybe I even didn't like certain people, but I didn't really know why. I couldn't really name it or put my finger on exactly what it was that I wasn't liking about the situation. After doing a lot of self-reflection and a lot of work on myself, it was really interesting understanding that I had a habit of really putting a lot of weight on what other people thought, what other people felt I should be doing, what other people thought was right or what was wrong. And the interesting thing is that these people weren't even necessarily trying to do that. Some people were. Some people, that was their expectation. But I even took it further into people who that wasn't their expectation. They were just talking. They were just giving their opinion. They were just having a normal conversation. And I took that as, well, now that they said it, I have to do it. And it's so extreme. But I think is what's interesting is a lot of us do that. A lot of us in some situations, somebody will say something in a tone or in just a certain way that we now, that triggers our brain, it triggers our body, it triggers who we are. Well, that it has to be this specific way. One of the best ways this was described to me was social contracts. Now, we have here in America very social contracts of when you say, hi, how are you? You say, oh, I'm great. How are you? Now, whether we actually mean it or not, it's kind of just a cultural norm that that's what we say. This doesn't make it a bad thing. At the same time, it doesn't necessarily mean it's a great thing. It doesn't mean we have to answer. It doesn't mean you have to just say, oh, I'm fine. It's just that that's the social norm. That's the social contract. And if you don't follow this social contract, everybody kind of looks at you like, wait, what's happening? Not only do we have social contracts just in our culture in different countries, but we have social contracts with our family, with our friends, with ourselves. And what I would like you to do today is think about these social contracts. Think about these habits, these things that you just naturally do in your everyday life, and to start picking them apart. Instead of just automatically going with them, instead of automatically just like, oh, that's what we have to do, I want you to stop. I want you to start to notice, how do you feel around certain people? How do you feel in certain situations? I want you to start noticing as your day progresses, how you feel about certain things, because that's the first step in becoming indifferent to other people's opinions and start doing what we want to do. We have to stop and we have to recognize what's working and what's not working. Now, that doesn't mean that everything that you are doing is not healthy or not working in your life. It just means you now have to take the time to individually go through things. And I know it seems like it can be a lot of work. And at first it will be. At first it's kind of like, I just want to go on autopilot. It's so much easier to just go on autopilot. The problem with going on autopilot is we're just going to get the same thing over and over and over again. So I want you to start looking at situations and people that make you feel uncomfortable, stressed, anxious, and start really diving into what is it that I'm feeling? That's kind of the first step. Like, what is it that I'm feeling? Because if you start noticing that your chest is tightening or your stomach is tightening up, that's a very clear sign that you are uncomfortable, that this is not a situation that you want to be in, that this is not a situation that you like. And then your body's physically telling you you want something different, that you want something to change. Now, whether or not you know how to do that, that's irrelevant. But we got to first notice the signs before we can start changing things. We have to start noticing what it is that we want to change. We have to start noticing who the people are that we don't act ourselves with, that we play along with these social contracts, that we just say, oh, that's so-and-so, she's just this way, and we just have to go along with it. Why? Why do we have to go along with it? I quite frequently say that I am a recovering people pleaser. And one of the things that was a really eye-opening moment for me is I had this belief, I had this thought in my head or this habit of, oh, I don't want to upset people. And then I kind of looked around and I thought, I am literally surrounded by a lot of people who upset people all the time, and they don't have a problem with it. I don't think they're intentionally trying to upset them. I don't think they're intentionally trying to be obstinate or aggressive. I don't think that's their intention, but they are aggressive. They're just inserting themselves in a situation that doesn't involve them. And I thought, how interesting that I am walking around all the time just so stressed about upsetting people or inserting myself in a situation that I don't deserve to be in, or not using my voice in one way or another, when there are people all over the place just constantly saying the wrong things, constantly being offensive, constantly doing whatever they want to do, and they're totally fine. They're totally fine. And they have people who love them. They have people who are constantly surrounding them, saying that they're a great person. And here I was so trying to control everything that I said, everything that I did, everything that I was behaving and acting and all the things, and the tightness in my stomach and in my throat and in my chest and just, it's so much. It's so much work. It's so much energy. It's so much time and stressing about what other people think, when there are tons of people walking around and they just blurt stuff out, and they don't mean to be offensive, but it comes off offensive. They don't mean to be abrupt, but it just comes off abrupt. They don't mean to be aggressive, but it just comes off aggressive. And they still have friends, and they still have family, and they still have people who love them, and they still have a good job, and they're still living life. And here I was trying to just control everything and be the right person and do the right thing and say the right stuff. And it's so much time and so much energy, when the reality is very few people care. Very few people are just worried about their own lives. They're just stressed about what they're doing or how they're perceived in the world. So the first step is noticing. Start to notice. Start to notice that the people that you're with. Start to notice the situations you're in. Start to notice at work. What is it that makes you feel all this stress? Why does so-and-so get to act the way that they act, but you just have to accept it? Why? That doesn't make any sense. Why does so-and-so get to be blunt and get to be just obstinate or aggressive, and you just have to take it? That literally doesn't make any sense. Why can't you be that way? Why do you have to be the peacemaker in the family? Nobody else is the peacemaker in the family. Why do you have to be there because it's family? Nobody else has to be there because it's family. Why do you have to do this X, Y, Z? I want you to really start to look at the things that you have labeled onto yourself, that you have taken upon yourself as, I have to do this because other people expect it. If other people expect it from you, but they don't expect it from themselves, or from other family members or from other friends. That doesn't make any sense. And what's even crazier is that we just all go along with it as if it's a completely normal thing, as if it's completely acceptable, as if that's a rational thought. I have to be nice and kind and make sure I don't offend anybody, but so-and-so over here, they just get to say whatever they want. And they're just blunt. They're just abrupt. That's just who they are. Well, maybe that's how I am. Maybe I'm abrupt. Maybe I'm mean. Maybe I'm just blunt and I'm going to say whatever I want to say. But if you said it, that would be, oh my word. You can't say that. Why? Sarah gets to say it. Karen gets to say it. Why can't I say it? Clearly nobody cares because nobody's stopping Sarah or Karen. So why can't I say it? And these are things I want you to start thinking of. It doesn't mean you have to go off the rails. It doesn't mean you have to be this mean, abrupt person. It doesn't mean you can't be nice. Maybe you genuinely want to be nice. But it doesn't mean you have to just take what everybody else says. It's a really interesting thought when you start breaking down why you have to do something because everybody else expects it, but they don't expect it of anybody else. And it really starts to shift. Is that the way you want to be, or you just expect it to be that way? Is that the way that you choose to show up? And that's okay. If you like the way that you show up in certain situations, if you're the friend that always gets people, rallies them around, all right, come on guys, you're like the little mother hen, and you like that about yourself, that's great. We don't want to change things that we like about ourselves and things that are working and things that bring us joy. We don't have to change that. But the things that we're not liking, the things that we don't like the outcome in, the things that people just expect us to jump to just because they expect it, why? Why are we going along with that? When I had this realization, it was really interesting because I had so many expectations. And I'll be really honest, I don't even know if other people were putting them on me, if I was just putting them on me, or I just thought they were putting all these expectations on me. I don't even know half the time, to be honest with you. Now, I can kind of pinpoint a few of them where they came from. It makes a lot of sense. At the same time, other ones, it's like, that doesn't make any sense. I have so many blunt and abrupt people and aggressive people surrounding me, but yet I have to be nice. None of you are all nice. None of you are worried about other people's opinions. None of you are stressed that, oh, maybe I hurt their feelings. So why do I have to be? So I want you to really look at that. I want you to just start thinking about what it is that we're really holding on to and why. Well, who put it there? Did we put it there? Did our parents put it there? Did a friend put it there? Was there a certain situation just trying to keep us safe? Which is usually the case. Sometimes we do things because we want to feel safe or we want to feel like a connection. Oh, if I don't do this for my family, then nobody's going to love me. If I'm not the caretaker, then who's going to like me? This kind of brings me to the next point, which is usually the reason that we bring these things up in ourselves and we behave this way is because these patterns give us a result. And the result usually is like love and connection or significance in some way. And so when we try to look into these types of habits that we have and these patterns that we have, it can get really uncomfortable because now if I'm not the caretaker, who am I? If I'm not the one that everybody laughs at, are they gonna still like me? If I'm not the one who just, I'll be nice, then who am I? And that's really an interesting situation to be in. It can be a scary situation because now you have to look back on, okay, well, if I'm not this person, well, now, who do I want to be? Who am I? Who am I to my core? And now moving forward, what do I want it to look like? And a lot of times this can be a really scary moment because you don't know what's going to happen. And not only do you not know what's going to happen, sometimes when you start to shift, going, okay, you know what? I don't really want to be this person anymore and I'm going to change. Now people look at you and go, what are you doing? Who are you? Why are you acting weird? And now there's a spotlight on you of everybody looking at you like, this isn't the way you behave. Why? Now they're questioning you. And now you're making other people uncomfortable, which, let's face it, other people have been making people uncomfortable for many years. But now you're the one making them uncomfortable because you're changing it up. You're not behaving the way that they believe that you should be behaving. And so it can really shine a spotlight on this awkwardness of like, you're like, I don't know if I'm doing this right. I don't know. Number one, I don't know if I'm doing it right. I don't know if this is what I want to be doing. I don't even know if this is worth it. Maybe I should just go back to being the punching bag or being the one who's laughed at or being the people pleaser or whoever you have been being. And it can be really scary and it can be really awkward and you're still trying to figure it out. But I promise you, keep going, because the more that you sit in it and the more that you recognize it and the more that you stop being the person that you don't want to be, the more people, either one, they just exit your life. They no longer are there anymore, because maybe you do make them uncomfortable, but the reality is you don't really want people in your life that don't accept you. So it's okay if they leave your life. It's okay if they're no longer there. It's okay if they don't like the new you. Because is it really worth being this fake person just to have this one or two people in your life that really don't like you? They just like this person you were pretending to be? That doesn't make any sense. No, we want people who want to be with us for who we are. So there is an awkward moment. There is an awkward time where you're kind of going, I don't really know if I'm doing this right. I went back to a familiar situation and I immediately went into my old pattern self. And because I'd been doing this a while, I started to notice, man, I'm getting really tired. I'm getting so tired and this is exhausting and my anxiety is just going crazy. And I haven't felt this way in a while because I had really worked through a lot of stuff, but this was really coming back like strong. And I took a moment and I stopped and I recognized, oh, I'm behaving like my old self. I fell right back into the pattern. I thought I'd been doing so good. I thought I had figured stuff out, and I went right back into this pattern of just being my old self. And what was interesting is I did stop and I thought, okay, how do I went to my old self. I don't like that. But the crazy thing is I had no idea how I wanted to behave in that situation. And I just kind of stopped and I sat back and I just watched. I just watched other people interacting. And what was so fascinating is I watched everybody else be this performative, weird version of themselves too. That when this certain group of people got together, everybody was fighting for attention. Everybody went back into their old normal habits. Everybody went into this weird craving significance. Look at me. I'm amazing. And I thought, this is insane. I'm not the only one doing this. Everybody in this room is performing, trying to get this need met of like, look at me. I'm whatever they were trying to get out of it. It was so fascinating to watch. Every single person was behaving so weird in like this really performative way. And I sat back and I just sat there and I just watched everybody. and I didn't say a word because I genuinely didn't know how I wanted to react in that situation. Now this was a situation I couldn't really get out of, and it wasn't like unsafe. I wasn't really anxious. I wasn't really stressed after I stopped. I was fine to sit there, but it was more interesting to just sit there and watch all these people, because I just sat there watching this person look at me, look at my money, and I thought, that's weird. And then I looked at this other person, and they were literally like a 40-year-old and they were like acting like they were 12. And I thought, that is so weird. And we're all doing this. We're all putting on this weird fake personas because we all happen to get in the same group from like years and years and years ago. We've all known each other for decades. And I thought, oh my word, this is so strange. And what was interesting, once I stopped, it didn't change the whole dynamic, but what I noticed is it started making other people uncomfortable, because one person would say something to me, and all I would do, instead of behaving the way I normally behave, I went, oh, yeah. I gave no answers. I gave no normally I would have been so performative and been like, you're so funny, you're so right. And I went, yeah. And they go, are you okay? I said, yeah, I'm good. I'm just hanging out. I had no idea how to act. I truly didn't. The whole time I was sitting there going, this is so weird, but I don't know how to behave in this situation. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know how I want to respond. Do I want to tell all these people and say, you are all acting crazy? This is so stupid. What are we all doing? That's kind of what I wanted to do. I didn't do it, but I kind of wanted to do it because I was sitting there going, this is insane. This is crazy. So that got over. And what I had to do is I had to come back when I wasn't around anybody else. And I thought, okay, I will be seeing these people again. This is going to happen because I can't change anybody else. All I can change is me. So I thought, how do I, if nobody else is going to change, how do I show up? What do I want to do? And I sat there and I thought, there's really nothing for me to do. When I go and they're all acting this weird performative thing, I can just sit there and just be there. I also even thought, should I even go back? What's the point of going back? Does it benefit me in any way? Should I just tell everybody I'm busy? Because now that's going to bring up, why don't you ever show up? Why don't you ever come? We invite you and you never come. Like, now it's a whole other conversation. So when you're going to switch, just noticing is a huge step. And then starting to do this, like recognizing these patterns and seeing all these changes and trying to figure out, well, how do I want to show up? How do I want to be? Now it's a whole new world, because now you get to do whatever you want to do. I could not show up if I don't want to. If there's no point in me showing up, what's the point? I don't need to. I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. I'm not going to get in trouble. Now, I understand that if you start looking at this, now it kind of starts making you feel a little mad, making you feel a little irritated. The whole goal is not to do the opposite. We don't need to do the opposite of what people are telling us to do, because that's literally the same thing. You're still basing your decision on what other people are telling you to do or not to do. So that's one thing that I've really noticed a lot of people do, is they start to notice that, okay, they have this noticing moment where they're like, oh, I have to be the nice one. I'm not going to be the nice one. I'm going to be the mean, angry one. And they go to the opposite, what they think is the opposite. That's not the opposite. The whole point is we're not being controlled by other people's emotions. We're not being controlled by other people's opinions. We're not being controlled by what other people think we should be doing. The whole point is we're doing exactly what we want to do. And in order to do that, you have to stop. Now, you may go to anger, you may go to guilt, you may go to shame a little bit. Now, you may go to these things, but the whole point is stop doing it out of other people's opinions, other people's expectations. Just doing the opposite is not doing what you want to do. It's still being controlled by the other person. It's just doing the opposite. You're supposed to be this type of person in your family. Well, now I'm going to do this because now it's going to make you all mad. That's still being controlled by the other people. You're just doing the opposite. You're still just not doing what you want to do. The whole point is to do what you want to do. So you may fluctuate doing, oh, I should be this because they're my family. And no, I don't care about you people. And I'm going to block all of you. And, oh, but I should be nice because they're my only family. No, I'm going to be. So you might bounce back and forth. Totally normal. Totally normal because we're figuring this out. We're figuring out who we want to be. The whole point is to find the middle. Find who you want to be in the center. So that when they come to you and they say, we really have to do this and we need you to do this. Instead of going angry and saying, no, you can't make me anymore. You just go, yeah, that's not going to work for me. Oh, but you're always the one, da, 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 da. I may be not going to do that. It's that simple. I know it doesn't seem that simple, but it is that simple. When you get to a point of becoming indifferent to their opinions, what we don't want to do is get stuck in the bouncing back and forth. Oh, we're going to do what they want us to do. Now we're going to do the opposite of what they want us to do. You're still being controlled. Either way, you're still being controlled by the person's opinions and habits and the social contracts that you have in your family or in this social situation. The whole point is figure out what you want to do. Figure out who you want to be. Figure out what is in that specific situation. Do you want to help? Maybe you want to help. Maybe it's really beneficial for you to help. And okay, maybe you've always been the person that helps, but maybe you enjoy that. That's okay because that's who you want to be. It's not a social contract. It's not an expectation. It's who you want to be. And when you start to do this, you really start to guide and build a path in your own life of who you end up wanting to be. And it doesn't matter what other people think. It doesn't matter what other people say. You may even have people be like, see, I know you'd always do it. Well, you're doing it because you want to do it. Doesn't matter if they think you're doing it to please them. All right, whatever. You're doing it because you want to do it. That's the goal. That's what we're trying to get to. You do the hobbies that you want to do because they're enjoyable to you. You have a job that you want because it's enjoyable to you. You have the relationships that you want because it's beneficial for you. You have life experiences that you want to do. And other people over here and other people over here and their expectations, it doesn't matter. You're just moving forward in the way that you want because it makes you happy, brings you peace, brings you joy. That's the point. So thank you guys for watching. I really trust that this information was helpful. Until next time, bye.